there is a range of feeling, and if you will get a handle on the feeling, not getting hung up on the word so much, but get a handle on the feeling and decide today that in every conscious moment that you can, you're going to do your best to find the best feeling thought that you have access to, which means you're going to try to soothe yourself into a better feeling place. We've been teasing Esther and enjoying something that she has been enjoying, and we offer this to you in fun, but it makes a very good point. Sometimes when Jerry and Esther are traveling, for example, there is this sense of competition about who's right, who chooses the best path, or who knows how to hook the car up in the most efficient way. Esther likes to wait until they have a nice straight place where she can put the car right behind the motor coach, because the hitch is very tricky. You can't go backwards with it. It has these flexible arms at first that must lock into place so that when you turn, it holds the car in the right angle. And at first, they're not locked in. You have to sort of pull forward to get them locked in. And they've had a few occasions where they've tried to hook it up on a campsite where there was too short of distance to pull forward, where they needed to make their turn before it was locked in, which is a problem. Often they had to unhook the car and look for a better way of going about it. So Esther is always wanting to look for a nice straight place, and Jerry is hoping and wanting to hook it up right where it sits on the camp spot because it's just more efficient. And so they sort of teasingly argue with one another about it. And Esther realized as Jerry was hooking it up on the campsite the other day in Boston, and she walked around to the front of the coach and she thought, we have to turn very quickly here. I hope he's right. I hope he's got it lined up right. And then she thought, I hope we have trouble with this. And then she began to laugh because she realized that she was more interested in being right than she was in things going well. And then she pondered that and realized that that happens with a lot of us, she said, when we feel like we are in competition for virtue or for knowledge or for smartness or for the best grade. In other words, we become so programmed to compare ourselves to others and be right that sometimes we give up what matters more, which is things going well. Your world seems more bent on being right than it does in getting along. It seems more interested in discovering who has the right religion or the right truth than it does in allowing the diversity and just getting along. And so we say it's an epidemic of extreme proportion in your humanity these days, where you have lost sight of what really matters, which is how I feel right now, which is how well connected I am with my source, as you are vying for a competition of appropriate behavior as assigned by some other criteria that keeps moving around on you. So when you discover that nothing is more important than the way you feel, then you discover that it's much easier to work yourself into alignment. In other words, it would be much easier for Esther to give Jerry the benefit of the doubt, or for her to at least hope that things go well, than for her to strike competition about whether his idea is more appropriate than her idea. So let's say that you don't have enough money, and you haven't had enough money for quite a long time, and there are things that you want to buy that you haven't been able to afford, and things that you need even that you haven't been able to afford, and your children are asking for things from you, or maybe your parents are wanting some help from you, or you're wanting to take a vacation that you can't afford. In other words, something has happened that has activated your awareness that you don't have as much money as you want or need. So you feel critical of your spouse for not having made better decisions, which gets you nowhere because those decisions can't be taken back or changed right now, this red hot minute. Or you criticize your own employer for not giving you a big enough piece of the pot. Or you demonize your government for taking too much of it in taxes and squandering it on things that aren't important. And as you point out these very logical things that a lot of people would agree with you about, the only question that we want to ask you is, do these thoughts make you feel better or worse? And what we notice is that as you talk about things that need to change over which you have no control, you always feel worse. So when you try to make yourself feel better, when that's the only thing that matters right here and now, when you get really off the subject of how to get the money and on the subject about how to feel better about the money you've got. Now you're doing that thing where you change the way you feel here rather than needing to get over there before you change the way you feel. So you stand here and you try to soothe yourself. And you soothe yourself in any way you can by saying things that just feel better to you, not to anybody else, to you. So you might say something like, hopefully it will get better. And maybe that changes nothing about the way you feel. So you keep trying because after all, you want to feel better now. So you say something like, well, I guess we've all pretty much done the best we could do from where we were standing. Now, that might soothe you a little bit. And you say, yes, but it doesn't change my financial condition. And we say, don't lose track of what you're doing on this emotional journey. You're trying to soothe yourself. Because when you soothe yourself, you release resistance. And when you release resistance, you let in the money that you've been holding out with your resistance. You think it's your action or your job. You think it's what your mate earns, or you think it's the luck of the draw that makes the difference about the money that you let in. And it isn't. It's the way you feel about money that makes the difference. It's how much aggravation you have. It's how much resistance you've conjured in your effort to be right, you see. In your effort to do something other than feel better, you have amassed all kinds of resistance, which is only thought that contradicts the thought of your desire. And that's what holds the money away from you. We promise you that more money than you could spend in this physical lifetime is in vibrational escrow waiting for you to let it in. A steady stream of money is lined up for you. You've got to soften the resistance, which is the only thing that's keeping it out. You don't feel in competition about health. You don't feel in competition about clarity. You never say, I think I'll be sick for the next 10 years to allow people who've been sick the wellness. You don't say, oh, my mother's so confused. I think I'll give up my clarity so that she can be more clear. Because you know that there's no association. And it's true of all of the resources of the universe. You're not in competition with anyone, you see. So as you work to feel better, you will shift your vibration. And as you do that, your resistance will leave. And relief will be the indication that it is leaving. And then the next indication is that manifestations that are more pleasing will come through the crack that you have opened. The crack of least resistance. Whatever you give your attention to, you activate the vibration of it in your vibration. Every time. So when you say yes to something, you activate this wanted thing in your vibration. When you shout no at something, you activate that unwanted thing in your vibration. So yes means yes and no means yes. Because this is a universe based on vibration, attraction, not on words. So when you see something that you want and you say yes to it and you activate the vibration within you, now you are vibrationally equivalent to that which you are saying yes to. And if you do that enough, this now active vibration becomes an often active or activated vibration. And if it is often enough activated, it becomes a habitually activated vibration. It becomes a dominant vibration. And that's when it becomes expectation. Every subject has the potential of being two subjects, doesn't it? What is wanted and lack of it. And depending upon which end of that stick you most often look at, that makes whichever end of that stick the dominant vibration within you. So you could have a dominant vibration about physical wellness, which means you expect wellness, which means you're thriving in terms of wellness. But you could have a dominant vibration about not enough money, and you could be living not enough money, even though you want more money. Which brings us to what we think is the most important thing that we're going to say to you all day here today. You live here in the now. All of your power is in the now. All of your life is in the now. All of your ability to live is in the now. Everything that you feel is in the now. Everything relative to your creative power is in the now. Did we say it's in the now? Which means you may be thinking about the past, and you may be thinking about the present, and you may be thinking about the future, but you're doing it now. And what you are most affecting with these thoughts about past, present, or future is now, which is where life is. In other words, you want an improved future because you think that when you get there, it will feel better now. But What about now? Why plan so hard for tomorrow when tomorrow never comes? Because when tomorrow gets here, it's today. So all of your power is now, and we've noticed that there isn't anything that any of you want. Nothing. A material object, a pile of money, a relationship, an event, a circumstance. There's nothing that you believe you want that is for any other reason than you think when you get there and have the experience of it that you will like it, that it will feel good. So we want you to begin to focus upon how important feeling good is now, not later, now, because later never comes. It's always now. And when you discover that you can massage your thoughts into feeling good now you've got a handle on life. Now you're allowing your pure connection between who you really are and who you are in this physical body. Now you're letting the whole life of you live in you now. When you feel exhilaration, that's what you're doing. You found a way of setting your mind, which sets a vibrational tone, which allows a fuller part of you to experience this moment. That's what passion is. Passion is you letting you in. That's what enthusiasm is, and love and appreciation and joy. Those are moments when somehow, some way, you've managed to let a bigger part of who you are share this moment of focus with you now. So when you discover that you have the ability to feel good now, now you know the secret of life. We hear you sometimes willing to sacrifice or suffer now for a promise of something better later. And we want to say to you, never squander now for any reason whatsoever, because it's not possible to have an unhappy journey to a happy ending. It cannot be. It's illogical. It is vibrationally illogical. It is illogical in terms of law of attraction. It is illogical in terms of the laws of the universe. It never happens that way. Don't get confused. You cannot feel bad about something and have it turn out good. You've got to start feeling good about it before it begins to turn around. So sometimes you say, well, how do I feel good about something that has already turned out bad? And we say, you have to understand, nothing has turned out. And you say, well, it feels pretty turned out to me. The person I loved went away, or the person I loved died. That seems pretty final. How do I turn that one around, Abraham? You say to us. And we say, you never get it done and you can't get it wrong. And when you understand that your constant quest is for that of joy, and that you have access to thoughts that will give you joy now, then you come to understand that there isn't anything that you cannot turn around. But you've got to make your journey quantifiable or understandable before you can tell which end is up, which direction you're going. As Jerry and Esther travel across the desert from Phoenix to San Diego, it's easy to know which direction to go. They want to go west. The sun tells them that. And if it's nighttime, Magellan tells them, or the compass tells them, or the highway signs tell them. It's not hard to tell which way they're going on the highway. So they set a reasonable speed, get pointed in the correct direction, and trust with strong belief, with absolute expectation, that they will arrive at where they're wanting to be. The journey is quantifiable. But if you are on a path from sickness to wellness, that journey's not quite as quantifiable. People say, come this way, try this medicine, try this surgery, think these thoughts, do these things, have this heredity in your background. Oh, you've eaten that all your life? No chance for you to be well now, they will say. Oh, you smoked those cigarettes? Well, it's no wonder you're sick. You've damaged your body irreversibly, they say. And so you have all of these voices. It's no wonder you are lost in the desert, because you're pulled this way and this way and this way. You try this and this. I want to be more slender. Oh, well, then eat this and don't 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 eat this. It is no wonder you are lost in the desert. The journey is not quantifiable. Don't you love knowing that you don't have to fix this planet, that you don't have to fix one other thing, that not one person needs to do one thing different? Don't you love knowing that you have perfect government and so does everyone else? Don't you love knowing that you have perfect gender and so does everyone else? Don't you love knowing that the diversity of religion and the diversity of beliefs and desires are perfect as they are? Doesn't it just take a big load off your shoulders to realize that things do not have to change in order for you to be